The person lying to you right now isn't avoiding your eyes. They're holding eye contact a little too long. And if you don't know why that happens, you're missing the most important tell. Here's what most people get wrong about liars. They think lying is about deception. It's not. Lying is about self-regulation. When someone lies to you, they're not just managing what you believe, they're managing their own nervous system. And that internal regulation process is what reveals them every single time. By the end of this video, you'll recognize a lie before the person even finishes their sentence. Not because you're analyzing their words, but because you'll understand what their brain is doing while they speak. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Behavioral psychology has spent decades studying deception, not just what liars say, but what happens in their body and mind when they construct false reality. And the patterns are more consistent than most people realize. Here's the first thing you need to understand. Lying is exhausting, not emotionally, cognitively. When someone tells the truth, their brain pulls from memory. It's effortless. But when someone lies, their brain has to construct a narrative, monitor your reaction, suppress the truth, and stay consistent with the story they're building, all at once. This is called cognitive load, and it's why liars make specific, predictable mistakes. They over-explain. They add unnecessary details to make the lie sound believable, but those details create more things to track. They pause before answering simple questions because they're calculating, not remembering. And they repeat your exact words back to you. Did you go there? No, I didn't go there. Because mirroring language buys them processing time. But here's where it gets revealing. The higher the cognitive load, the more their body tries to simplify. They reduce hand gestures. They stiffen their posture. They lock their face into a neutral expression because their brain can't manage both the lie and natural body language simultaneously. And this leads to the most uncomfortable part. Most people think liars lie to avoid consequences. That's only half true. Liars lie to protect their self-image, not just the image they project to you, the image they hold of themselves. Every lie serves an emotional function. It preserves who they believe they are. The person lying about where they were last night isn't just hiding their actions. They're protecting the version of themselves that doesn't do that kind of thing. And maintaining that internal story becomes more important than telling you the truth. This is why habitual liars can pass lie detector tests. They're not faking calm. They genuinely believe their narrative in the moment they're telling it. The lie becomes their lived experience, and their nervous system reflects that belief. But occasional liars, they leak, because the gap between who they are and what they're saying creates internal tension, and tension always shows up somewhere. Here's what most people miss. Your body doesn't lie, even when your words do, and liars' bodies reveal the truth in ways they can't consciously control. Micro-expressions. These are involuntary facial movements that last less than a second. A flash of contempt, a moment of fear, a brief tightening around the eyes. Most people don't consciously notice them, but they register subconsciously. That's why you sometimes feel like someone's lying, even when you can't explain why. Then there's the voice. When people lie, their vocal pitch often rises slightly, not dramatically, just enough that it sounds strained. They also speak faster or slower than their baseline because their breath pattern changes under stress, and breath controls speech rhythm. And the eyes. Not the direction they look, that's mostly myth, but the blink rate. Liars blink more frequently when constructing false information and less frequently when delivering it, because blinking is tied to cognitive processing, and their brain is working overtime. If this is already changing how you see conversations, take a second to like and subscribe. The next insight builds directly on this. Liars use distancing language. They remove themselves from the lie linguistically, even as they're telling it. They say "that woman" instead of using a name. They say "the car" instead of "my car." They use passive constructions. "Mistakes were made" instead of "I made a mistake." This creates psychological space between them and the falsehood. It's a subconscious buffer. They also avoid contractions. Instead of "I didn't do it," they say "I did not do it." Research shows this happens because lying requires more deliberate thought, and contractions feel too casual for the weight of deception. Their brain defaults to formal language as a form of seriousness. But here's where the pattern reveals everything. When you question a liar, they don't just defend the lie. They attack your perception. "Why would I lie about that? You're being paranoid. I can't believe you don't trust me." This isn't about you. It's about redirecting the cognitive pressure they're feeling. Every time they deflect, they're reducing the load. Because if they can make you doubt your instinct, they don't have to maintain the lie as carefully. Your uncertainty becomes their relief. And the most skilled liars don't defend at all. They agree with part of what you're saying, concede a small truth, and use that to reinforce the larger lie. "You're right, I should have told you sooner, but when I did go, it was exactly like I said." The partial admission creates the illusion of honesty. But even they can't hide one thing. The biggest indicator someone's lying isn't in their behavior during the lie. It's in their behavior immediately after. Once the lie is delivered, there's a release, a subtle relaxation, a shift in posture, sometimes a quick smile that doesn't match the context. This is called duping delight, the unconscious satisfaction of successfully deceiving someone. It's not malicious, it's physiological. Their nervous system registers that the threat has passed, and the body responds before the mind can suppress it. And this is what separates chronic liars from everyone else. Chronic liars stop feeling that release. Lying becomes so integrated into their baseline behavior that there's no tension to resolve, no cognitive load spike. They lie as effortlessly as they breathe. And that's when they become almost impossible to detect through behavior alone. But you still have one advantage. Liars target specific people, not randomly. They choose people who make lying easy, people who don't ask follow-up questions, people who accept explanations without pushing, people who prioritize harmony over truth. If you're someone who gets lied to often, it's not because you're gullible. It's because you've signaled, usually without realizing it, that you won't challenge inconsistencies, that you'll smooth over tension, that you value the relationship more than the accuracy of information. And once a liar learns that about you, they'll lie more freely, because the cost is low and the payoff is high. But the moment you start asking specific questions, questions that require detail, timeline consistency, verifiable facts, the dynamic shifts, because now the cognitive load becomes too expensive, and liars, conscious or not, will start avoiding situations where they have to lie to you. Here's the truth about lying. It's not about morality, it's about self-preservation. Every lie is an attempt to manage reality, both external and internal. And once you understand that, you stop taking lies personally. You stop being hurt by them. You start seeing them for what they are: nervous system responses, cognitive strategies, emotional protection mechanisms. The person who lies to you isn't your enemy. They're just someone who's chosen fiction over confrontation. And whether you accept that fiction or not, that's your choice. But once you understand why people lie, you stop being confused by them. You stop being controlled by them. And that's where real clarity begins. The lies don't disappear, but your relationship to them does, and that changes everything.